and Digital. I'm Neha. I took the first dose of the coronavirus vaccine and I tested COVID positive after that. Should I take my second jab immediately or when it becomes due, or should I wait longer? Am I still equally vulnerable to the intensity of the virus? How safe am I from COVID-19 after taking a single dose of the coronavirus vaccine? Does the first dose provide me immunity, and if so, how much? These are some of the many questions that I and many others like me have in their mind. There are various myths attached to the vaccination process, and some of it even claiming that vaccine provides us immunity from the virus, which is obviously not fully true. Let's straight away go to an expert and hear it from him what one should or shouldn't do. Public health expert Dr. Ambarish joined me to answer all your questions. Welcome, Dr. Ambarish. Now, after taking the first jab, if I test positive, how long should I wait to take the second jab, or should I get it immediately? That's the question that first comes in mind.
Yes. So if someone contacts COVID after getting the first jab, the ideal scenario should be that after the illness is over, which takes about 15 days from the first symptoms, or when one tests positive for COVID, after waiting for 14 days after the symptoms resolved, one should wait for 4 to 8 weeks to get the second jab. That means you should allow for 14 days for resolution of the COVID, and then after that you should wait for another 4 to 8 weeks for the second jab. Is that clear?
But doctor, will my immunity be affected if I delay taking the second jab?
In such circumstances, the immunity will not be affected too much because you have been already vaccinated with the first dose and then you had been infected. So infection also boosts your immunity, and then the second dose will ensure that you have complete immunity.
Dr. Ambarish, you mentioned about immunity. So does vaccine provide me immunity from the virus? Am I, in the safe zone after taking the first jab? What I'm asking is, suppose if I contract coronavirus after taking my first jab, in percentage term, how well protected am I from losing my life?
After taking the first jab and allowing for a 2-week window period after the first jab, there is some development of immunity against the virus. And it is, of course, much better than a completely unvaccinated person. But it does not confer you immunity what 2 doses would confer. So, of course, you are better off than an unvaccinated person, but you are not as good as a fully vaccinated person. But it would provide you with some immunity, of course, and there are chances that if you contact COVID between 2 jabs, you are more likely to have less severe disease.
But isn't it also true that after taking both the jabs, I'm not 100% safe? Isn't that true as well?
Absolutely. You are, because you see, none of the vaccines have 100% efficacy. That's almost not true for any vaccine for that matter. That's why we see some infections, much fewer in number, breakthrough infections, because the vaccine is not 100% efficacious. Similarly, the vaccine provides protection from fatal infection almost to the tune of 99 point some few percentages. But there is always a minuscule chance that some person who had contacted the virus even after 2 jabs of vaccination, a breakthrough infection, can die of it. But again, the probability is very, very, very minimal after 2 jabs. Understood. But there are still chances.
Understood. Dr. Ambarish, there have been a significant number of cases where people after taking the first dose have tested positive for coronavirus. Is there any specific reason for it?
There is no specific reason for it. It's just because there is a huge surge of corona epidemic that's sweeping through the country. So like anybody, even the vaccinated, first dose vaccinated people also have the same probability of contacting the virus. That is what has happened. But in some circumstances, it has been reported that some of the vaccination centers or vaccination camps had acted as, spreading events, because too many people gathered together in those camps, sitting close by in enclosed places, which are very much congenial to transmission of the virus. So many of these vaccination centers, the act of vaccination might have facilitated this, spread of virus. But we don't know to what extent, what is the contribution of such events, but that may be one of the possibilities. But otherwise, there is no relationship between vaccination and getting positive.
I hope through Dr. Ambarish I was able to answer your questions. Remember, vaccines do not guarantee you 100% protection from the virus. So take necessary precautions, follow COVID appropriate behavior and stay safe. Thank you very much for joining me. If at all you've liked the information that I've shared, do not forget to subscribe to TV9 Digital across all social media platforms.